Joining us now after the big news breaking last night, the Portland Trail Blazers have agreed to a multi-year deal with K2 and Sinclair Broadcasting Group, as well as the announcement of the direct-to-consumer platform Blazer Vision. President of Business Operations, Dewayne Hankins, joins the show, ladies and gentlemen. Dewayne, how you doing?
Hello, thanks for having me. How you doing, Danny?
I'm doing good, buddy. It's nice to have you on to have, to be able to talk about something that you guys have been building towards for a while now. And it's something that I think is probably one of the biggest wins for fan off the basketball court in quite some time. Can you kind of elaborate on how you got to this point, why K2, and what you guys are kind of hoping to accomplish by moving this direction, going to a more traditional but different model as broadcasting changes?
Yeah, I think, Danny, for us, it's really been about the fans from day one on this, and making sure our fans can watch the games. I mean, you've reported on it. Folks have talked about it. There's been a long history of our games being too hard to watch for too long. And, K2 came to the table with a really great opportunity for us because not only is it in Portland, but this TV network, this Rip City TV network that we've been talking about, it helps spread out through all of Oregon and Washington. And that was something that was really exciting for us, and just making the games available for our fans. We're in this period of the franchise where, wins and losses are not going to be the primary reason why people come to games, but we want to be able to build that relationship with fans. We want fans to see glimpses of these players that they were really excited to go see. And this felt like the right time to do this.
Not a lot of teams in the NBA have this sort of agreement. We've seen it in Phoenix and hybrid version of it down in Utah with the Jazz. How receptive was the NBA to this in this plan? Because it has always seemed like everything has always been pushed to the cable and the regional sports networks, but now kind of that landscape is changing. How receptive was the NBA? Because you guys have Blazer Broadcasting in-house, making it a lot easier to start this thing from the ground floor.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think having the production in-house is something that we take a lot of pride in. We've always wanted to do that. That's something that goes back to when Paul Allen was still around and owning the team. And he felt very passionate that we should be able to produce and own our own broadcast. It makes all of our other content arms stronger. So I think because we do our broadcast, our social media is better, our documentary series are better. So it just strengthens that muscle throughout. And so that was always going in. We knew we could find the right solution for us. It's been years in the making in a lot of ways, because I think Danny alluded to this. We've looked at direct to consumer models for years, trying to build towards this. And I think where the league has shifted in the last couple of years is that, the ground underneath our feet on this regional sports network is affecting, not just the NBA, but the entire sports industry. It's affecting college sports. And I think at the end of the day, most teams just want to create that lifelong opportunity to have fans who are able to watch the games. Like at the end of the day, how many brands or products get a 2.5-hour commercial available to create more love for the team? And so we knew we had to go that direction.
Dewayne, we kind of open it up to listeners for questions, and I want to make sure I ask you this one because it's a very specific question. It's something you and I have talked about, and I alluded to in the article. You guys have a very broad distribution to begin with, but one of the hurdles that you guys are dealing with, and this isn't just you guys, it's a territorial thing as far as the broadcast itself. But how are you guys working to get customers and fans in Bend and Deschutes County as much coverage as they can get?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question, Danny. So, a lot of the plane is built, but we're still kind of flying while we're putting it together. And what I mean by that is there's going to be only more distribution that opens up from here. We're working on Bend, both us and our partners in Sinclair, to find the right solution for our fans there. We hope to be able to get that up as soon as possible. We're working on a coverage in Spokane. That's another area that's really important to us. And then we have fans in Eastern Oregon, in the Boise market that we want to make sure are able to watch games. Because, while the games were more difficult to watch last season than they are this season, those were markets that had access to those games. And so we want to make sure our fans have access to the games. So I guess my short answer would be stay tuned and stay with us, and we'll get you news as we get it.
How mobile is it going to be for the Blazer Vision? I've had friends that have already reached out for me across the country saying, hey, is this going to make it easier for me to get the Blazers through the Blazer Vision? What is going to be the streaming arm of this, and how does that look from a standpoint of accessibility, in kind of the geofencing, and where it is at a price point for fans?
Yeah, we're partnered with the NBA, who we trust a lot in this product. They do a great job with League Pass, so it's going to be backed by the same software. Um, we wanted to make as many options as fans for possible. So we know that fans who have antennas or watch the games over the air, great. But there's a lot of fans who don't have a TV or want to watch on their mobile device. And so that's really what Blazer Vision is for. It's designed for the fan on the go, for the fan who wants to watch on those platforms in the way they want to watch. It's all under the same sort of geofencing rules that anything would be. But again, the idea is to make it as fan friendly as possible. And that's what we put into the pricing as well. I mean, we wanted to create a product that was relatively inexpensive for the fans to be able to access the games. So we think $120 for the year and $19.99 or $19.99 a month is the right deal. And it comes with two tickets for the season. So we think that's a good deal for fans.
Awesome.
One of the things, Dewayne, that the organization has really kind of pushed, and I think K2 and Sinclair along the same lines, is you want to support not just the broadcast itself, but have shoulder programming and have additional insights and have the things that you can do with your media and your social media staffs and the things that kind of come along with that. Can you speak about the different options and things that you guys are at least looking at early and where you guys can go with that in the future?
Yeah, definitely. With NBC Sports Northwest, what was great about the partnership with them was that, we had that shoulder programming sort of all day talking Blazers. And that was obviously something that we missed when we went over to Root. Now, when in Root Sports, who was also a great partner, it was distribution. We would be with these two other teams and we would be able to get distribution. Obviously, that didn't work out exactly as planned. We don't have to get into that. But for us, it was about what we missed from that relationship was being able to have a ton of shoulder programming that helped supported our Blazer games. So what opens up the possibilities here with the Rip City TV network is to be able to have things like the Trail in a much bigger audience. We can do things like coaches shows. We can do shoulder programming like you're talking about, pre-game shows or post-game shows. And, one thing we know about our fans is there's no shortage of content that they want to be able to check out and to watch.
So now one thing with Root, where it was like you were either on the main channel or the secondary channel, this going to have kind of the same deal with K2 and then Rip City TV. How far in advance are we going to know which games are on which station? Are we going to know this like right away? Because that was one of the things that fans were like, I don't know, I didn't know if it was on 12:53 on Comcast or 7:34. Are we going to know exactly where games are going to be far in advance and what whether they're going to be on channel 2 or .2?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of training that we're going to have to do with our fans to help them understand and find the games on these networks. So. Again, as we're building through this, most of the games for the fall here are going to be on that 2.2 K2 channel. There'll be the occasional game on K2 2.1, which is really getting in the weeds. But what that means is that the games are, they'll be available there and we'll get the word out as much as we can. Starting on January 1st, there's another station here in the market that's the Univision station, and then that station will completely flip over to be a Blazers only, Rip City TV network station, and that's really where it's going to be, incredibly available. So we have a little bit of a transition period here, but the games will be available on January 1st, both on K2 on that 2.2, and then on this new station that we're launching January 1.
There was some. I don't know, let's say miscommunication or misunderstanding of, I think, the level or quality of the broadcast that has since been clarified, and that is the broadcast on the K2 Charge channel is currently in 480, but it will switch over to 1080 in the Portland market October 22nd, obviously the day before the regular season starts, and that'll at least cover that market with the at least above standard definition broadcast, correct?
Yeah, and I'll correct that even further, which is to say we want it to be HD before our preseason games broadcast. So we are definitely doing the preseason game on the 18th. We may look at doing another preseason game just because as we look through the schedule here, it'd be nice, making no promises here, but it'd be nice to have a couple of preseason games under our fans' belts to be able to watch these games. And those games need to be in HD. I mean, that's just the way it has to be. So we're working on that with K2 and the Sinclair network. But yeah, there's no way in 2024 we cannot have a game in 1080p.
And that was the question I was just going to ask you was do you know how many games and which games that will be covered on the broadcast for the preseason yet?
Definitely the game on the 18th. Maybe I'm breaking news here. And then we're looking at another option, but don't have anything yet.
Okay.
I'm pumped to have it back on like local television because I remember growing up here in the area, we got to watch games on KGW growing up, and it was always kind of that appointment television. It was something that everybody had, and it was accessible to, and I loved it. What has been the reaction to the fan base that you guys have gotten initially? Because I'm pumped about just having it to where everybody in the area can watch a game as long as you have a television and HD antenna.
Yeah, I mean, the fan base seems really excited, which we're happy with. That ultimately was the goal. I think the things that keep me up at night are twofold. One of them is just there's so many different things that can take people's mind and attention. And so we need to be in the space of getting your attention, and that means making the games easy and available to find. And that's what we've done. And then the second one is just, youth sports and having kids watch the games and grow up and watch the games. I mentioned this the other day, but a lot of my love for sports growing up myself in Chicago is being able to watch, the Bulls or the White Sox or the Cubs on WGN and building that love from a very early age. So, I hope this means we'll go back to the days where, families can sit in front of a TV or watch on an iPad or whatever, but just have access to the games. I think that part's really important to us. And, you alluded to the KGW days, another great partner of ours, but our games were often twice the rating of our cable games on KGW. And so, as it's no secret that we had the biggest drop in TV ratings last year, and primarily the reason for that was our games were so much harder to watch. So we're really looking at the numbers this year and hoping to see a major bounce back there.
You may have grown up in Chicago watching the Cubs on WGN, but there's like a whole
we grew up watching
the entire Portland area is like littered with Cubs and Braves fans because of WGN and TBS.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's the power of being able to watch the broadcast. Yeah, it's a great example.
Well, hey, Dewayne, thank you for taking the time for us, man. We really appreciate it. Congrats on the new deal. Like I said, I think this is a major win for Blazers fans, and I know how hard you and the folks at the Trailblazers work to get this done. So break a little bit of journalistic integrity and say thank you because not having to fight through to watch games, I think, is going to be a big deal for fans. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and thanks for having me on, guys.
Hey, thanks, Dewayne. Again, that was the Portland Trailblazers President of Business Operations, Dewayne Hankins, joining us here live after the Portland Trailblazers have launched their new TV network, Rip City Television, in partnership with K2 and Blazer Vision, their direct-to-consumer streaming platform.
Blazer fans will always have something to complain about.
Yes,
I asked him about the K2 versus .2 because we are going to have to retrain ourselves, and I'm glad he said that. Like, we're going to have our training wheels on for a little bit, but I think the one thing that you can kind of lean on, and he said it right there, is that January 1st, so midway through the first season, actually like a third of the way through the season, all of a sudden that Univision will flip to Rip City Television, and that is where you can get all of it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is
all of it will be in one spot eventually. Yeah. We're gonna have to learn for a while.
This is
better than the alternative.
Yeah, there's a technical hangup that is causing this issue, and that's and Dewayne addressed that there, and that Univision will hold that antenna until the end of the calendar year.
You know what this is what pissed me off about Root so much is that I would go because life coaching youth sports, having kids playing sports, a regular season game, I would just DVR, right?
Sure.
You put it on the DVR. Yeah. I would DVR a Blazer game, and I'd turn it on, and it's Kraken, like the Kraken studio show, and then
or
the following
the
Kraken. And I'm like, this is not the Blazer. Yeah. And I would go through, and I would record the wrong game because it would come up on the guide as on 7:34. The game was actually on 12:53, and I would just be like, sweet, no game. Awesome. Looks like I'm going to YouTube for the condensed version.
Yeah, we're gonna see if we can find the shortcut for this for League Pass. So, like I said, Dwayne addressed, and a lot of people again have asked about the bend issue. I will tell you, and Dwayne just highlight it. They are very aware of where they need to do things to kind of raise it up a bit, and those are hurdles that exist before the Blazers.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said earlier, and I mean it. At least you now can be informed when you're complaining about the Blazers sucking, because a lot of you didn't watch. You just saw box scores and you said, "Bah, this sucks." Well, now you can watch every game and you can actually be upset. This is actually probably going to trigger Danny even more.
No,
because they'll be like, "I did watch," and then you're gonna be like, "Well, you watched and you're wrong." Yeah. Still.
No, I told Dwayne, and I said it here, like, I think this is a huge win, and knowing the process and what they went through and how this has all gone and where they ended up versus what was available and the other things that they looked at, and I think they ended up at the best possible outcome for Blazers fans. Like that, and I think that matters. And
no doubt.
I don't know if you guys can pick it up from Dwayne, but Dwayne gives a damn.
Yeah, he does.
Like he's not some C-suite jerk who's just trying to cash checks. Like he genuinely cares about fans, and like this. He wasn't joking. This kept him up at night trying to get this deal right. Yeah. So I want to give him his credit for how hard that he worked to get this done.
Okay, different ownership groups, different television deals. Could we see some of the W games on there?
I did talk to Dean Dittmer, who's the vice president and general manager at K2, as part of the interview for my article that's on the Jack Ramsey's Patreon. And I would be shocked if K2 did not put their hat in the ring for the WNBA franchise when it comes around.
Because that's a question that Dwayne is not responsible for, because it's a different ownership group. That's not even the same arm. It's a different animal. Yeah.
But do I think it could exist on the same network? Absolutely.
Because they need programming for Rip City Television during the summer too.
100%. And I think that I think you could maybe end up seeing the Thorns on that. Like I think you could end up seeing it become kind of a localized RSN of sorts.
All right.
So, but yeah, networks in markets now. And we talked about this yesterday. The idea. No, I'm sorry. It was Casey and I talked about this last night. The idea of broadcasting, the number one revenue generator is live event. Live event. That is why it's valuable. That's what matters. That is the number one driver of income right now in broadcasting.